Today we're looking at how you can make cheesy au gratin potatoes.
Mouth-watering family recipes, easy-to-make meals, humor and faith fill the inspiring show Dano on the Counter. Born with only half a spine, Dano Burkhardt was never supposed to be able to hold his head up. Despite countless surgeries, a stroke, leg amputations, and kidney transplants, Dano developed a contagious love for life. Join Dano as he shares his easy-to-make dishes and the hope that keeps him pushing forward.
For the potatoes au gratin, you're gonna need 5 to 6 medium sliced and peeled potatoes, 3 tablespoons of butter, 3 tablespoons of flour, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 2 cups of 2% or whole milk, 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese, and 1/2 cup of chopped onion.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's freezing out here. Hey, let's go shopping. Oh, throw this baby in here. So a lot of times, a lot of people always ask me is how I drive, without having legs. And my parents, when I was really young, about 15 years old, the year before I got my driver's license, sent me to a driving school. And I drove with a personal instructor for about 6 months to learn how to use the hand control system, steering and everything, because obviously you have to do everything pretty much with one hand. So you can't, there's no texting and there's no messing with anything else, because you got one hand doing your gas and your brake and one hand on the wheel. So it takes a lot of getting used to, and also you don't want to mess it up, because if you mess up your gas and your brake pedal, it's not a good situation. So, but fortunately enough, I was able to get some good training on that. It took a while, but pretty much mastered it now. So that's pretty much how I got to go to work when I was younger. My parents were like, hey, if you're going to drive, you got to pay your insurance, so they made me get my first job, and I actually worked at a pharmacy and worked there after school every day to pay for my car insurance. And then they're like, oh, well, you're making decent money now that you're working. Maybe you should go ahead and take over your car payment. And I'm like, what? What's up with that? But no, so at a young age, my parents really taught me a lot of responsibility and independence, obviously, from the time I was young, that if I wanted to do something, it was always that they weren't going to stand in my way, and I was always going to be able to find a way to do it on my own, and let me determine for myself if I was able to do it or not. A lot of times, you come to the grocery store or anywhere, and you'll see these VIP parking spots here, up front. And, I have a VIP parking spot pass. I can park there, but honestly, I don't need it. And for me, it really just causes, people to stare at you and look at you. Because they see this young guy, and they're like, what is he doing, But, so I'd rather just park out here. Nobody's watching you, just like everybody else. That's how we do it. As we begin shopping, I'll tell you a little bit about the process. It's very similar to yours. I grab a cart, and for some reason, I always grab the loudest cart in the bunch. And then we just go and start getting our ingredients. Pound of cheese. Throw it in the cart. Load the cart. Of course, we need potatoes. So let's go there. Add russets to these. Peel them up. Slice them up. You got bread.
I'd like to recommend you always allow a little extra time to see friends. I often run into people I know, and I take the time to chat, like my little buddy Judah and his dad, Jeremy Vogel.
What's up, buddy? Your television debut.
You like them apples, don't you?
You got all that healthy stuff in here. What are these?
Freeze-dried apples.
Oh, like chips.
Mm-hmm. Perfect texture for you.
Yeah, nice. Nice, brother. You have to come to my house and eat.
Time to finish shopping and check out, but not until we hang out with the store's robotic assistant for a few minutes. So I usually do self-checkout because it's convenient, especially if I'm not buying a whole bunch of things. I just throw it in a couple bags and head out.
So I usually tie these off here because you don't want your onion to roll out, and then you find you have an onion under your seat like a month later or something like that. So put it all in there. Put it in your seat. And you don't want to do that fast, so you gotta return it. You know it's uphill. Getting old. All right, let's go. I'll head back and forth to the store. I guess maybe I should come up with a list before I go in there, but I'll just wing it. What's up, guys? Sitting at a red light. So, I don't know about y'all, but I thought the store was pretty busy today. That's not typical, maybe they heard they're filming Dano on the counter there today, and so everybody wanted to show up. And for Jeremy to show up, something tells me that might have been a setup there. I don't know, but it was pretty cool to run into some people that we knew. So, living in a small town like this, you are bound to run into people, and in my case, I don't really blend in that well. I kind of stick out, so more than likely you're gonna run into somebody you know. Take me a couple trips, but we'll get it all in the house. Let's start cooking.
After the break, we'll get into the details of making a simple but enjoyable dish, potatoes au gratin. See you then.
Hi, my name is Thad Dick,
And I'm Aiden. We're the 5th generation of Dick's Home Care.
and our family is here for your health.
If you're considering a lift chair, call or stop in and see us at Dick's Home Care. Our chairs come in a wide variety of fabrics and finishes. We even have chairs that are able to be closer to your wall in case you have a small space.
Dick's Home Care, Central Pennsylvania's leader in mobility products.
Impact Productions, a multi-layer technology company providing on-site, online, and in-studio video services. Contact Impact Productions to capture your story.
Hey guys, welcome to my house here, and we're gonna cook some potatoes au gratin today. So let's get started. First, we're gonna grate some cheese. So I have an 8-ounce block of cheese here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and shred this and get those forearms going. This takes a little bit, but we'll get this going. We do it old school around here, no fancy ninja slicers or nothing like that. And this is one of my favorite parts of the au gratin potatoes, is that nice cheesy hard crust that you get once it comes out of the oven. This is all part of our cheese sauce. Just be careful, don't take off your fingertips. You're gonna need those. And then we're gonna go ahead and chop up our onion. I cut both ends off, makes it easier to peel. Since I'm not making onion rings or anything like that, it doesn't have to be all fancy. Just make sure you get all the skin off, because nobody wants to get skin in their casserole. And we'll go ahead and chop up this whole onion. Cut it in half. And I've seen a bunch of people do this some fancy way where they cut like down in the middle. Dano doesn't do that. Dano just chops an onion. How he chops an onion. Didn't go to culinary school. Self-taught. My mom and Nan, family members, cooking as a kid. So we'll get this all chopped up. And then once you get your onion chopped up, you're gonna go ahead and take out a medium-sized saucepan and get that warmed up. And we'll start making our sauce. All right, so with our au gratin potatoes, obviously we need potatoes. So we're gonna do, like I said, 1 or 1.5 per person. So we're gonna peel these and then thinly slice them. So we just got our peeler here. Of course, you want to cut out any dark spots or eyes in your potato, because nobody wants to eat that. So we have our potato peeled. And like I said, we're just gonna thinly slice this. It doesn't have to be exact, because once you mash it all together, it doesn't have to be perfect. But you want to try to get them around the same size, because they'll cook evenly. You don't want a thicker piece of potato, somebody bite into it and it's hard. That's gross. So, go through here. Like I said, get 5 or 6 of them, thinly sliced, like that. Good to go. And then you're just gonna make your sauce. And then we're gonna throw it all together. So to make our sauce, we're gonna start off with 3 tablespoons of butter. Get it in there. Voila. Do some medium-low heat. We're just gonna melt that. Turn that down a little bit. We're gonna add our flour. You're gonna add 3 tablespoons. So now you're gonna start whisking this. You make a roux, and you're gonna get this where it browns almost. But just till it comes all together. And then, careful, don't burn it. Always turn your temperature down. And then you're gonna add your milk. Whisk in your milk. And you don't have to add it all at once. You can kind of gradually add it. So that way, you're just gonna heat it. And then you're just gonna bring this to a boil, and it's not gonna take long. And this is gonna thicken up real, almost like a gravy. And make sure you get it nice and smooth or creamy. And then once this comes to a boil, we're gonna add half of our cheese in. Now, most recipes call for like a cup of cheese, but I like mine really cheesy, so a cup and a half, two cups is what I usually use. Just our heat a little bit. Never fry on high. That's what my dad always says. You can always cook something longer, but if you burn it, you're done. See how it's starting to stick to the whisk? Like I said, it's almost like a gravy. Cheese gravy, right? Something good. All right, so now it's starting to boil. Now this is when you start adding your cheese in. Turn that temperature back down a little bit. You don't want to burn it. Just went through all this work grating all this cheese. So you add some cheese in there. Mix it in. That starts to melt. You got some more cheese. And then we're gonna save the rest of this cheese to cover the potatoes before you put it in the oven. So you got your cheese sauce all melted. And then once it's all incorporated there, you're gonna add your onions. You can go ahead and throw that in. Now if you don't like onions, you can leave this part out. Some people don't, so it's not a big deal. And your onions are raw, but they're gonna cook when you bake your potatoes, and they'll be translucent and they'll be fine. So this is ready to go. And now we're gonna take our sliced potatoes and our cheese sauce and put it all together. We're gonna grease our pan, so we're just gonna pick some butter, rub it in here, cover the whole pan. This is gonna give you that crusty layer on the outside that I really like. All right, so we got our potatoes thinly sliced. So you're just gonna put a thin layer down in your pan. And then you'll add your first layer of cheese and onion sauce. Just wanna cover those. And then more potatoes on top. And like I said, you can make this as big as you want or as small as you want. This is going to be plenty to serve probably 4 or 5 people. And then cover the rest with your cheese sauce. Put them all up. And it's going to melt down even more once you put it in the oven. You're going to go ahead and preheat your oven at 350. You're going to take the rest of your cheese and put it on top. Once you get that done, then you're going to cover it for the first hour and a half with foil, or if you have a covered casserole, go ahead and put that on here. Then we're going to put it in the oven. We'll put our last layer of cheese on. We're going to cover it with foil. And then we're going to pop it in the oven. is going to bake for an hour and a half. The first hour, you're going to leave it covered. The last half hour, you're going to uncover it, and that'll melt that top layer of cheese and get that nice crust on it like we keep on talking about. So while this bakes, we're going to go in the living room and hopefully give you guys a little inspirational message, something that God has laid on my heart to share with you guys today.
Made by Vogel is a father and son business that produces high-quality handmade wooden products such as cutting boards, bowls, bottle stoppers, and more. Products for sale can be found on their Etsy site or in downtown Altoona at the Clay Cup. You can't go wrong buying from Made by Vogel.
Hi, my name is Dad Dick,
And I'm Aiden. We're the 5th generation of Dick's Home Care.
and our family is here for your health.
One of the biggest benefits we have here at Dick's Home Care is the Bruno Stairlift. Basically, the Bruno Stairlift is built right here in the USA. It is constructed of aluminum track with steel gear rack. This machine is reliable and they back it with their 100% warranty lifetime.
Dick's Home Care, Central Pennsylvania's leader in mobility products.
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining me today here in my living room. I just want to talk to you guys a few minutes about some things that happened in my life. And obviously, the first one, the major one that everybody wants to know is how I ended up in this wheelchair and where my legs are, right? It's the first thing people notice about me when they first meet me. And it's something that I always get asked everywhere I go. So I might as well tell you guys, right? So, yeah, I was born with a birth defect called spina bifida. And I was born in the early 80s to my parents that had no idea that I was going to be born with a birth defect. And there was no sonograms, there were no tests or anything that they knew that anything was wrong until the actual day I was born. And as you can imagine, it came as quite a surprise to them. And my dad was the first one to notice that when my mom had a C-section and they're pulling me out, and he just looked down and he could tell right away that something was wrong. And they whisked me away, and the doctors took me in, and they were doing some tests and things like that, and they determined that I was born with spina bifida, and my spine was only half grown at that point, and also that my legs were crippled. So if you can imagine, your calf and your thigh were sitting like crisscross, you know, mine were connected and were webbed together, and of course my legs were crippled then, so they wouldn't straighten out or I couldn't walk. It was something that I was born with, and it was something that, of course, my parents had no idea what to do in the very beginning, and the doctors didn't even know. They didn't know how I was going to survive even. They put all these limits on me in the very beginning that, you know, hey, we don't really know how this is going to turn out for him or for you guys, but just kind of take him home and see kind of what happens. And that's what my parents did. And they took me home. I had 2 older brothers, and as a young baby, I was, you know, laying on the floor one day, and then the next I was starting to hold my head up on my own, and then I was starting to roll over, and then I was starting to sit up, and then crawl, and then climb, and that's how I ended up on the counter. And the whole point of the show, of course, is Dano on the counter, because that's how I started off my whole life, was learning to adapt and overcome and learn things, to do things on my own. And that was something that my parents instilled in me from the time I was born, that they weren't going to put limits on me because they didn't know what my limits were. It was something that they had to trust God, that this was a purpose in their life for me to have this disability, but also in my life that I was going to have to overcome them, and that I was going to have to seek God from the very beginning. And this is something my parents relied on in teaching me as a young child, that they weren't going to give me those limits, and that they were going to trust God and have faith in Him, and that I could pick up on that, and they were going to teach me the things that God had taught them to also help me to get through the things that I was going to face later on in my life. And so I did. So as I was young, I had older brothers, that would throw me around and tease me and throw me off the roof into the swimming pool and dunk me and hit me with pillows and all those things, and take me on bike rides and all those things that you know, the doctors never really thought I was ever going to be able to do, but there are things that I was able to do because my parents didn't limit me. And then it comes to my faith and their faith that they had, and teaching me about who God was. And that was so important at a young age for me to understand who God was, because I was going to be faced with so many other challenges as I grew older. And they took me to Sunday school, and they took me to VBS, and I started to learn about who God was, and all these stories that I've heard about how God had healed blind people and healed paralyzed people, and the miracles that God had done. And I was hearing about all these awesome things, that I'm like, well, who is this God guy, and how do I accept him, because I want him to heal me, you know? And that's so many things that we hear about, all these great things that God has done, and we're like, oh, we want that in our lives as well. And so at a very young age, I was very naive, and I had heard these great things, and I thought, well, if I just accept God, I'm going to get this miracle, and this is something that God's going to do for me right away, you know. And so I did. I accepted Christ at a young age. I was 5 years old. After VBS one day, I accepted God into my heart and accepted him as my Lord and Savior. So there I was, 5 years old, just got saved at VBS, and just started my faith journey, and learning on who God was and relying on my faith. And man, was I going to need it. And I didn't realize how soon I was going to need it, is because that next year my parents get a letter in the mail stating that I was going to have this major operation, and that I was going to lose my legs, and that they'd come up with this crazy idea that they were going to take my legs and rebuild my spine with my tibia bone. And I was the second person in the world to ever have this operation. So you can imagine how my faith and their faith was going to get tested from the very beginning. And I'll tell you guys more about that next week as we look more into the operation and how I lost my legs. But for now, let's go see what's cooking, and let's go eat. All right, guys, thanks for joining us this week on Dano on the Counter. I got my crew here today. It's going to sample our food that we just made. And we hope to see you guys next week on Dano on the Counter.
Dick's Home Care can help you stay mobile. Dick's offers a full line of scooters to help with mobility both inside and outside your home. Take your scooter with you wherever you go with a scooter lift from Dick's. They are available for most vehicles. If standing or sitting is becoming difficult, a lift chair from Dick's will make life easier. There are many styles and sizes to choose from. And Dick's honors warranties and service on what we sell. Dick's Home Care, Central Pennsylvania's leader in mobility products.
Hi, my name is Dad Dick.
And I'm Aiden. We're the 5th generation of Dick's Home Care.
And our family is here for your health.
Purify 03 is the simple, effective way to clean your CPAP or BiPAP. It provides hospital-grade sanitation, killing 99.99% of bacteria and germs with the touch of a button. Everything you need comes in one affordable kit for just $1.90. It's available exclusively at Dick's Home Care, Central Pennsylvania's leader in home medical equipment.